I'm Jen.
And I'm Craig.
And this is the Knot Project. And we've gone through like 6 different takes to start this so far, but we are going to get it together right now. So we are in week 4 of our Give Grace series, where we are tackling topics that every marriage encounters and trying to, as a community, figure out ways that we can tackle this in a very God-honoring and life-giving way. And so today we're talking about a topic that I think probably many of you, or at least one of you in your marriage, struggles with, and that is the topic of anxiety. And I love this definition that Dr. Cloud gives of anxiety. At least it fit me to a T. And he says, anxiety manifests as an overwhelming urge to control things we can't control. And that is, it resonates with me so much, because part of the reason that I have anxiety is I want to make sure everything's right and everything's safe and everything is just so. I plan ahead weeks in advance so that everything comes together like it should. And sometimes it really goes off the deep end. And so I wanted to tell you there's a difference between normal anxiety, like if we have some anxiety before we film these videos, when we're giving a presentation at work, when we have a financial crisis. So it's almost like situations come up where it's really normal to have moments of anxiety. But that's really different from what's called GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. And so that I struggled with the normal anxiety pretty much my whole life. And then a year ago, I went through a season where my anxiety really turned into a disorder. And Craig was not equipped to handle it. My friends weren't equipped to handle it. It was at that point where I knew I needed to get some professional help. And so today we're kind of talking about anxiety as a whole, but just know that if your anxiety is causing you to not function in life, where I became non-functional, even though on the outside it looked like I still had it together, people who were really close to me knew that I was tanking. So we just want we're kind of talking about both at the same time, and it's kind of up to y'all to figure out if it's time for you to seek some professional help, because there's for sure no shame in going to counseling or a psychiatrist or whatever you need to get you on the path to healing, because dealing with anxiety sucks a lot, and so we want y'all to be healthy. So
when we were thinking about this, there are I made a joke earlier that when you're in trouble, you call AAA. So we have 3 words that we want to use just to kind of help spark the conversation and provide you some context and a means of remembering what to do when it happens. So the first one we want to call out is to be aware. So depending on how long you've known your spouse or significant other, will determine basically how aware you typically are of their, in poker we call them tells, right? Like, it could be something that it's a behavior, it's not necessarily words, that your partner will exhibit that kind of signals to you that, hey, something is just not right. So for Jennifer, if I come home and the house she's in the midst of cleaning, or she just finished cleaning and the house was clean like 2 days ago, that's usually an indication that something's going on. She has to busy herself, and she gets satisfaction from a clean house, and she gets satisfaction from cleaning. I know that's strange, but it's reality.
Well, can I just say, like, if I can see physical order, then it brings me a measure of comfort, because my head is going crazy and it's chaotic in my head. And so having a clean house is something I can control. So when I feel out of control, I look for things that I can actually make mine and make how I want it.
Yeah, the other thing too is just to be aware what's going on in your life and in your spouse's life, right? So if I didn't really communicate to Jen that things are going crazy at work, or I was dealing with the stress of a personal relationship, she really wouldn't have any context to my behavior. She would sense that something was wrong, but she wouldn't really know what's going on. So I think it's part of communicating as well with your spouse, let them know what's going on with your life so they can be aware of what's going on. And then also if they can be aware of your tells and behaviors, that if you're starting to slide into anxiety, that they can swoop in and provide some
support. So, which is action. So, I wanted to just back up real quick and say sometimes anxiety really can be silent. And so, my cleaning is silent. Now, sometimes I can start barking orders, and that's an external clue that I'm crazy anxious. But a lot of times, my anxiety is just me telling myself I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I have to do all of these things because as I am, I'm not enough. I'm constantly trying to prove to myself and other people that I'm good, that I'm okay. And so sometimes you're not ever going to hear or see anything, but you're going to have to pray for discernment and really just key into how what your spouse might be telling herself or himself at the moment when you sense that something's up. So action, what do you do when your spouse is in the middle of anxiety? So just so you know, you're never going to be able to fix your spouse's anxiety. So this is not about swooping in to rescue. This is about coming alongside and saying, I'm with you in this. So action looks like empathizing with them, saying things like, I'm so sorry that you are feeling this way right now. Invalidating them. I know that your fear and anxiety is real. Because when I'm in the middle of an anxiety attack, part of what I'm saying to myself is, I'm so afraid. I can't deal with this. I know I shouldn't be afraid. Why am I afraid? And just this war within our minds. And we already know most of the time that our fear is irrational. And so coming alongside of us and saying, that's so stupid. Why are you afraid of that? It just isn't helpful, because then we already feel stupid or at least me, I already feel stupid for having an anxiety attack. I don't need someone else to affirm that lie to me. So action looks like empathizing, it looks like validating, and sometimes you can validate even without saying a word. You can just physically be there, and just, if your spouse likes physical touch, just sitting with them and communicating to them, I know that you're acting crazy right now and it's crazy in your head, but I'm with you in this craziness. I'm with you in this fear. I'm with you in this worry, and we're going to get through this together. And so that just affirming the present, right now you are safe. Right now, I am here with you. Because so much of anxiety is in the future, all the what if scenarios that go through our head. And so if you can bring it into the present, that's powerful. So just staying with your spouse in the present moment and helping them process through. And then you can just ask, what can I do for you right now? And the other day I was actually, it was before Craig left for work, and I was sitting in my chair and I've been doing my quiet time, and all of a sudden, just from some events that I had heard about through my personal friend, I just became paralyzed with anxiety. And part of my role that I played in life is caretaker. And so when I get bombarded with all of these people who legitimately need prayer or are reaching out, it can paralyze me. And this is part of the reason why I had to go to counseling, is I needed tools on how to break out of that paralysis. And so Craig texted me, what can I do for you right now? And I just said, I just need you to pray. And for him just saying, what can I do for you right now, allowed me to feel validated. Him saying, I know this is hard for you. What can I do to help? And then I could, just that moment, that question broke me out of that paralysis, that I knew I needed to get up, I needed to take a shower, I needed to start moving. And then I spent the next 15 minutes just singing worship songs in the shower. So that's where that counseling can be such a great tool, is it equips you to, because anxiety, sometimes it's never going to go away, like that pattern. I mean, yes, some people can be totally free. I have not experienced, total freedom from anxiety. I still deal with it, but now I have tools. And part of that, the reason why counseling was so effective is I could also come back to Craig and say, this is what helps me. And so in the moment, when you're not having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, so you sit down with your spouse and say, this is really what I'd like you to do when my world feels like it's turning upside down. So we have number 1, awareness, number 2, action, and number 3 is
acceptance.
He still loves me.
So, it's important to understand and acknowledge that you don't want to internalize what's happening, because typically it's not you. Although I can do things that can add to her.
Aggravate, another word for
Yes.
Don't aggravate.
Yes,
Go ahead.
you can certainly do those things, but the important thing is to accept kind of what's going, the current situation, and then accept your role in what's required in order to help ease your partner through that anxiety. And sometimes it might be just sitting and listening as they, you know, kind of outwardly process what's going on. Sometimes, like Jennifer mentioned, it may be just your physical presence to add as a calming
And
presence.
being with someone does not mean that you're enabling them. You're not validating that anxiety is good.
Mm-hmm.
You're just validating that you're there with them.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did most recently is we put together these prayer cards. And one of the ones that we pulled out, I think that's really good for this topic, is the theme is peace. So I'm kind of going to put this up here.
And we'll put a picture of this up on the we'll put a picture of this up on the at the notproject.org so that you can, well, now the glare is bad, so that you can actually print it out and be praying for this for your spouse.
Or you kind of do it like this Star Wars scroll.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, so we'll put the notes in there, but I think this is another thing that you can do to not only help your spouse, but also help yourself through this process.
And pray it over yourself too, because it can be really exhausting to be partnered with a spouse that has anxiety. And so we want you to know that you need to have an outlet when it gets to be burdensome and when it gets to be too much for you. Pray this peace for yourself, and then, you know, maybe you want to go see a counselor. Y'all go to a counselor together. Reach out to your friend and say, hey, you know, my wife is really struggling, and I am not feeling so patient right now. Can you please pray for me that I can get through this? So, yeah, that's what we have for you about anxiety this week, and we would love to hear your comments. Love to hear your strategies that you guys use for overcoming anxiety, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one.